Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the CKC channel. I'm your host, Video Master FM Klaasen. And welcome to a special edition of Reflections. This is our last episode for the year of season one. So it's a big one, and we've had a lovely season indeed with many special guests. Um, and what makes tonight special? Of course, the host of our show is Dr. Bouah, but this time around, I will be interviewing him. And of course, he is doing his book launch on our channel this evening. So you guys should try to get in your questions early on. Um, Make sure that you get it in the chat box as quickly as you can so that we don't miss your question. And of course, if you are new to the show, just remember you need to press the follow button to enable the chat box. If you can't seem to type in the chat box, you must press the follow button, which is somewhere at the bottom. It looks, I think sometimes it's a purple heart. And if you can't press the purple heart or the follow button, then just make sure you have signed up to Twitch. Go to the home page and just sign up. It's quick and easy for free. You come back and press the follow button. So guys, I think we can go over to the library. So just give us a second and then we'll get to the library. Okay, we are in the Reflections Library. Welcome, Dr. Bouah.
Good evening, Calvin, and good evening, viewers. Great to be here, and thank you, Calvin, for agreeing to host the book launch here on the Calvin Klaasen Chess Channel.
Yes, it's exciting stuff. I mean, we've had such a lovely time. Good evening to all the viewers in the chat box already. And as you can see that we have slightly switched seats here. Dr. Bouah is usually on this side where I sit, but like I said, we are going to interview him. He's going to tell us about his new book that he's introducing to the world. So, Lyndon, what is this book all about? I think this is basically why we had this show. Can you tell us a bit about your book?
Yes, Calvin, a few years ago, I started writing about chess because I believe that the history of chess in South Africa needs to be told. And I started writing a series of, which I just called Reflections. And in 2020, I decided to just put some of my writings together. And I've written a book called Reflections on Chess in the Rainbow Nation. And I looked at a few tournaments of last year and a few the early tournaments of 2020. I've added some games, and I've put together something that a lot of chess players and non-chess players will enjoy to just go through on their own, in their at their homes, and something for everybody is in this book.
Great stuff. Sounds exciting. And I've got quite a few questions lined up here to get to know this book a bit better. So guys, like I said, just throw in your questions in the chat box. We'll take a few intervals during the show to give a chance for the viewers to get their questions through. First come, first serve. So throw in your questions immediately, guys. My first question to you, Lyndon. So you've written a book of reflections, but when did you start reflections? When did you do your first reflections article?
Calvin, I actually went back in my history, in my notes, because I keep quite a few documents, and I actually discovered that my first reflection type book or reflection type article I actually wrote in 2007 when I went to Singapore with the South African under-16 youth team. And at that tournament, I had the opportunity as the manager and coach to write about the players and then send the emails back home to South Africa. And I did that after every round because I had time, and people enjoyed it. And after that, I went with you to Mozambique in 2008. And I recall every day sending an email home to South Africa to people's email addresses, because there was no WhatsApp at that time that you could share reflections in. So I used to email things back to people who wanted to read. And since that time, I've been writing about chess probably now for the last 13, 14 years.
Fantastic, great stuff. So it's been coming a long time now. So yeah, viewers, I just want to take an opportunity here, guys. We've got the advert here in between us, but I just want to show you guys a clear shot of the book. Just a second here, Lennon. I just want to show the viewers. So there we have it, guys. Reflections on Chess in the Rainbow Nation 2020, Volume 1 by Dr. Lyndon Bouah. Yeah, the cover, the book is a black cover, so there's no green border. But since the background is black, I just had to do that, make it more easier to see. So so yeah, there's the cover of the book, guys. And welcome to Grandmaster Neil McDonald and Hibernator in the chat box. Grandmaster Neil says, congratulations, Lyndon. What was the best piece of chess advice you've given or received? Okay, so thanks so much for the question. I kind of jumped the gun there, Lyndon, so I'll just give you that question, and then we'll continue with the questions a bit later. So yeah.
Calvin, firstly, thank you to Grandmaster Neil McDonald for attending tonight. It's great, Neil, to have you also on board. And actually, the best piece of chess advice that was ever given to me was never underestimate any opponent. And in 1987, Calvin, I actually played in the Eastern Province school trials, and I was seed number 2 or 3 or somewhere, and then I ended up losing to player number 15 or 20, and I ended up not making the Eastern Province team that particular year. And I remember that advice from my school teacher, Mr. Ritchie, to say, never underestimate any opponent. My opponent that beat me in that year was actually Shane Bassett, a good friend of mine. And after that, I learned that I must respect all players and all opponents.
I think that's very important advice, especially for the youngsters out there. If you're listening, great advice over there. Okay, so I want to ask you. So we heard when it started, but there must be a couple of sources. What inspired you to reflect, Lyndon, on these chess events?
So, Calvin, I've always been somebody who loves history, and I in fact did history up to matric, and I loved reading about chess. And as I was reading about chess, I realized that in South Africa, we actually don't know the history of chess. When you speak to players, they don't know the names of the past. They don't know a name like Wolfgang Heidenfeld, who won the SA Close 8 times. They don't know Charles de Villiers, that won 6 times. Watu Kobese, who won 4 times. Denise Frick, now Denise Bouah, who won 3 SA Close women's titles. Or the first woman, Tannie Vanie Roberts, who won in 1975. Now, many of those things need to be told. Our stories need to be told. And in probably about 2000, I became friends with a gentleman called Leonard Ritstein. And Mr. Ritstein at that time was probably about 70 years old already, but we became firm friends because he was one of South Africa's probably then foremost chess historians. And I loved his book, History of Chess in South Africa, and he took it from the 1600s up until 1940. And I decided maybe there's time for a modern book about South African chess as well. So Leonard Ritstein was certainly an inspiration to me, but also when I grew up, I listened to the stories in Port Elizabeth when I met Jannie Safir, Ivan Peterson, Wayne Miller. Later on, I met Ewan Cromhout and others, and I listened to them and their stories. And when I got to Cape Town, I listened to Roland Willenberg, Mark Lewis, Maxwell Solomon, all of these players that were able to tell me about the great tournaments of the past. But then I realized we don't have these tournaments written down. We don't have the games. We don't have the results. So somebody must be putting them together. And in this book, Calvin, I've actually put in 36 cross tables of results so that people out there will be able to show their sons, their daughters, their moms, their dads, that I ended 3rd in this particular tournament in the B section, and the following year I won the A section. And that you can find in this book, Chess in the Rainbow Nation, because of course the reflection must be that years from now, the book must serve as a tale of history. as well. So those are part of my inspiration, Calvin.
Great stuff. Thanks, Lyndon. So it's interesting. I actually, while you was giving that answer, I was thinking about years ago. I also myself coming from the Eastern Cape, Eastern Province. I remember there was some letters, chess letters that came out. I don't know if it was on a monthly basis or something, but I used to just grab it from my older brother who would read it, and it would be so interesting and actually inspiring just to see who's who and the rating list and who won the last tournament and so on. So I think that is actually a critical part that a lot of chess players miss. I mean, if you think about other codes, you can so easily just YouTube, if you're a rugby player, YouTube the last World Cup or whatever and check it out. But chess players like ourselves, sometimes you need some inspiration. You get that hunger. And I mean, going back and finding this type of material is always a good thing to inspire you to and motivate you to improve. So great stuff. Yeah, you mentioned tables and lots of games. I want to know, how did you select these games? I'm surely there's a lot of games in the book. How did you select them?
Calvin, it's a very interesting story. Now, everybody knows that I'm passionate about chess and that I love chess. So for me, playing through any chess game is very easy for me. And nowadays, when you have ChessBase and you have all the games electronically available, I literally then played through every game from the tournaments that I selected. So at the SA closed championship that was played in 2019 in Durbanville, I played through every single game that was played by every single player in the tournament, and I selected the games and positions that I found the most interesting. Sometimes the player that I selected ended in 9th or 10th position. A player like Michael James, for instance, has probably about 6 games because he beat the top 3 players, but he also lost 3 other games. So, but they were all exciting and tactical. A player like Kenny Willenberg, who won the SA Closed B section, has a lot of games. Shabir Bawadin, fantastic tactical ability. So I played in all the tournaments, the SA Closed, the SA Club Championship, the Western Cape clubs, Western Province Open, the Drakenstein tournament, and also the Cape Open. Calvin, I can tell you that I played through every game and made my selection. So I probably played through more than 1,000 games before I got to the selection of the 250 games that I ultimately selected.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. So that sounds like a lot in there. And just to the viewers out there, I'm seeing a lot of comments. Leave the questions as well. Like I said, the first questions will be taken first. So yeah, thanks to everybody for the comments. Just one interesting comment here by ML already. ML says, I regard Dr. Bouah as a walking chess Wikipedia. Interesting stuff there, ML. Thanks. And yeah, so get the questions running, guys. So now, so you say you went through a lot of games, of course, interesting stuff and instructive as well. And I want to know from you, what value can you get out of this book? Is it an interesting read? Is it instructive? Can I use this book, for instance? I myself am a coach. Can I use it as a coach for my students?
Calvin, in fact, the book is ideal for coaches. Just to give you 1 or 2 statistics, there are 150 complete games that I've left in the book. There are 250 diagrams, and there are 166 different players whose games I selected in the book. So what I've done is that when I get to a certain diagram, I would stop I would put that diagram, the one that I found interesting, and I would then ask the reader, what did white or black play in this position? And once you can then put a little card at the bottom of the diagram as you then figure out what the best move was. And I enjoyed chess, whether it be the technique that was used to finish a game, whether it was a great mating attack, whether it was a nice king and pawn endgame. Those are things that appeals to me. So there's something for everybody, and for a coach, they would certainly have a lot of material that they would be able to utilize on a regular basis using this particular book.
Fantastic. Okay, so looking forward to it. So all the coaches out there, guys, I must say I did see a sneak peek of the book, and I'm excited to use this with my students. It really makes it easy for you. It's like Lennon said, he selected and picked these games, interesting positions all the way through. So yeah, nice. Um, okay, so you've mentioned a lot of players and interesting games. So couple of things about the games actually. So can you perhaps, if you can, or if you want to, maybe name a few interesting, entertaining players from the book? Just to name a few. I don't want you to say one, or name one, but just maybe a few that the viewers can look forward to seeing in the book.
Thanks, Calvin. Difficult one because, of course, every tournament has got some great players in. So if I look at the SA clubs championships that took place in September here in Cape Town,
Yeah.
Two players that impressed me were actually Craig and Kenny Willenberg, two brothers, and they played some fantastic chess in that particular tournament. And you'll see that the positions that they got very attacking, and they were able to bring the points home. So those are, for instance, that type of games that I look with those players. When I look at the Western Cape Club Championship, for instance, Dr. Saudi, Andrew Saudi, he loves to sacrifice. And whenever an opportunity was given, Dr. Saudi came in and some brilliant sacrifices. There's one interesting game that Pravin Meyer from Pakkelsdorp Chess Club played against Sherwin Kleinschmidt. And brilliant game that Pravin Meyer played in that particular tournament. So every tournament has got some interesting players. And when I look at the SA Close, for instance, I was very happy to see players like Roberto Di Abrio, Mike Pond played interesting chess, Keith Kumalo, fantastic, Ben Hercules. Now, these are the players that didn't necessarily come in the top 2 or 3. I mean, Di Abrio came third in the tournament, but some of the positions that I called it some of it computer generated positions because they were not your usual positions. If I look at Mohammed Bawadin versus Matt Pond, for instance, Mohammed Bawadin had a mating threat queen takes h2 that he was about to execute when Matt Pond sacrificed his queen in order to stop that, but later on had winning chances. So every tournament has these players that come to mind. If I look at the Western Province tournaments, Watu Kobese's game's always exciting. Watu doesn't hesitate to play attacking chess. And then also interesting, there's probably in the SA Ladies Championship, Rebecca Selkirk played some great games, Shalise van Styl, Robin van Niekerk. So each tournament has some special games where players just raise their play. And I was able to pick some of those ones. And so there's something for everybody, Calvin, because the point about the book is that it's a book on South African chess players in the main. And therefore, they would be able to see themselves in the book as well. And sometimes there are talents. There's one player, Makupane, that played against Holmes in the SA Club Championship. Fantastic combination where he sacrifices his queen and probably saw 5 to 6 moves ahead, which was a rare combination, but he won at the end. Now, these are the players you won't necessarily know because they didn't come in the top, but players like himself, there's a guy called Dimo Kadama, who played a fantastic rook h2 check on an empty square, which is an unusual tactic, and he found that at the board, and it impressed me greatly. So yes, Calvin, I think every tournament, some great players that came through.
Fantastic stuff. So yeah, a lot of names over there. A lot of course, SA plays are the focus of the book, and I think that's very interesting, Lennon, because I mean, there's so many books already out there on. I mean, there's countless books on Kasparov, the world champions, and all the top countries and so on. So a lot of the African countries are hidden with a lot of talent. So I think this is going to be an eye opener to the international stage as well, for people to see that SA players actually can compete and produce gems. So
Yep.
yeah, so I think maybe we should switch over to the questions from the viewers. I wanted to start with one question that was quite appropriate. I think it was from Grey Old Wizard. Yeah, here we go. So the question that I'm going to start off with is from Grey Old Wizard. So once again, thanks everybody for the question. So Lyndon, the Grey Old Wizard has a question here. How do we get a copy of the book, and will it be available for purchase as ebook?
Calvin, it won't be available yet as an ebook. We're first going to just do the hard copies, and it is available if people just send to london.bouah@gmail.com, and we will then make it is 250 Rand for a book and 100 Rand courier cost. So that's what it will cost, and it's a great Christmas present for any chess player from me to me type of thing. So certainly that's how you can get a copy. You Gmail me or just contact me.
Fantastic. So yeah, there you have it, guys. I was gonna ask you a bit later on at the show, but now you have it over there. So yeah, I think we should take it from the top. Read some comments as well. Thanks everybody once again for the questions and so on. So Eugenius 2 says, Barry Hendricks, good evening. Hi, Barry. And yeah, let's see, where were we now? So Roland Willenberg also in the chat box. Roland says, exciting times. Can't wait to get a hold of a copy. Book looks brilliant. And he also says, Dr. Lennon Bouah, you are certainly now SA's leading chess historian. We appreciate your efforts to the max. Thanks, Roland.
Thank you, Roland.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna get to a question, but let me just read a few more. So Kenny Wallenberg says, Dr. Bouah, congratulations, my mentor and role model and former coach. I salute you on your achievement yet again. You continue to aspire to greatness and lead the way for all of us. Thanks, Kenny. Okay, so let's get to and Bertie 2913 says, great anthology, Lyndon.
Thanks, Professor Bertie.
Okay, let's skip a few. Let's get to a question. Okay, so here we've got one, guys, ladies and gentlemen, please try to ask questions to the theme of this evening. But I'll start off with the first question I see here, since it's the first one. So from Eugenius, it says, from your Ria Davids. Yes, sorry, first Ria Davids. My focus is the youth and women and girls. What can we do to increase the demographics?
So I think, Calvin, chess is a great equalizer because, of course, anybody, once you teach them, can play. And one of the things about chess that we've learned through is that whether you're a young girl, whether you're a young boy, doesn't really matter. If you've got a talent, you can play. And one has to introduce chess to girls, to women. There are some great, fantastic role models out there in South Africa already. And what we need to do, my view, is that girls and boys should be coached together in the same as they did it in the Russian and the Chinese traditions, so that you don't create separate groups for boys and girls, so that they are exposed to the same end games, to the same middle games, to the same openings, technical chess understanding and mastery that could come. And once you do that, and you don't draw a distinction between boys and girls, you would be able to probably get stronger female players coming through as well. And then for the youth out there, chess is fantastic because you can play it over the internet day or night, as I've seen many people do. And then, of course, if you're good enough, you can be in the A team of any club. So from my side, I think exposing more people to the game, that would be the first prize for me.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Lyndon. Yeah, we've got Roland also saying, well done for the timing on your launch of the book. Yeah, the timing of this cut wasn't so great, but the timing of the book launch was. And we've got Francois and Tertius saying, Lyndon, what was your best comeback game? I don't know if it's maybe in the book as well. Lyndon, do you feature in your own book?
Calvin, I've got about 4 games in the book myself there that I thought were good positions. But comeback games, difficult one because, of course, yeah, I think one of my favorite comeback games was probably a game that I played against Dr. Shabir Bawuddin in 2000 in round 7 of the SA Open in Alberton. and he sort of won a pawn, and then he forced me to give up my queen. And after I gave up my queen, I was still able to win the game at the end. So I think that is probably my greatest comeback game, because if I didn't give up my queen, I would have lost the game to Dr. Bawuddin. So it's not doesn't feature in this book, but will certainly feature in one or two of the upcoming books that I'm busy with.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I'm just checking here if everybody, yeah, left their question here. It's still over there. You're right. Thanks, Lyndon. So yeah, interesting stuff over there. I've got another question there that was linked to it. That's why I was looking to it. But okay, I'll get back to it. And Roland is asking, is it possible for this book to be in every public library in SA?
Roland, I certainly hope one day that people will approach the library authorities, because I do think that a book that celebrates South African chess should be available to the South African chess public and the greater public out there. There are in-game skills, there are middle game skills from players from all over South Africa, whether you live in Limpopo or KZN or the Northern Cape or the Eastern Cape. These books, that the games that are in the book have been created by South African players. And I'm sure that once you start going through it, one will appreciate that South African chess players and African chess players, because there are also players from Malawi like Paul Kupatia that's also features in the book as well.
Great stuff. Great stuff. We've got a nice question here, or quite a statement, and then a question from Jada 007. Jada says, good evening, everyone. Dr. Bouah, warmest congratulations on your stunning and historical chess book. I have always been inspired by your chess reflections. Could you perhaps tell us about the most memorable game in your distinguished career, which player you admire most in the world? So maybe close to the other question, but yeah, maybe if you can give us something there, Lyndon.
I think, Calvin, a game that is very close to my heart is a game that I played against Mr. Piet Kruin, who was a 4-time SA Close champion. I played it on the 3rd of August 1996 at Claremont Chess Club. It was Steinitz versus Bellville, board 1 in the league. And what was interesting about that game was that I sacrificed the knight on move 9, and after that I sacrificed the exchange on a5. And thereafter, I sacrificed the bishop. So I sacrificed literally every minor piece. And then in the style of Saint Amand of France, I ended up with my 2 pawns on d2 and e2. So that for me was probably the game that I consider my best game that I've played amongst the 2000 tournament games that I've played through the years. So I think it's difficult to say which player inspired me the most because, Kelvin Kasparov, with his complications and his brilliance at the board, was simply fantastic. One of my first chess books that I ever studied was, in fact, Fischer's 60 Memorable Games. And thereafter, I had all of Fischer's games by Wade and O'Connell that I also studied. And of course, Karpov, with his quiet positional play, is fantastic. If you look at Petrosian, how he played and how he was able to, you don't even know where you made a mistake, but all of a sudden you find yourself lost. So many players, Tal, Smyslov, Alekine, Capablanca, all of them had a great influence on me. But for me, the greatest player is probably Kasparov. I enjoy his games the most, and in fact, I've adopted the King's Indian after having seen Kasparov play the King's Indian.
Great stuff. So there you have it, guys. I definitely saw Lyndon. I don't know if I've seen Lyndon play anything but the King's Indian. So devotee of the King's Indian, definitely. So yeah, I think one more question from the chat box, guys. Keep the questions coming in, and then we're gonna continue with more questions from myself. So Dr. Queenie says it is great to have our own local players feature in a chess book. This book gives us the opportunity to enjoy and discover the creative play from fellow club, league, and tournament players. Thanks, Dr. Queenie. And then from you, Genius, where is this question now? Oh. Okay, so from your foundation in school chess, what is the structure of sport that we need to create in South Africa?
I think, Calvin, for me, as a chess player growing up, I think schools league chess was very important. I recall firmly playing for Bethelsdorp High School alongside Winston Dalpert, Richard Ward, Valman de Bruin, Conrad Blichnout, many others, Shane Bassett. And we used to play every Wednesday for 2 quarters. From April to September, we used to play against all the other schools. There was about 19 other schools in that league, and that gave me a solid foundation. Once I was identified as a good schools player, the neighboring chess club called Empire Chess Club that was situated in Arcadia, they then brought me closer, and I started off by playing in the Empire C team. I was playing something like C4 or C3, but I was playing in the C team at the back of, and slowly the next year I was in the B team until I finally one year made the A team. But at the end of the day, once you have your solid foundation at schools level, then you must go play for a club at a very young age. If you don't, in my opinion, promote club chess like we do in Cape Town and in the Western Cape, then a player will always have a disadvantage, because at the club level, you are able to play the league. And I must say, for me, the Western Province League has also been a great building block, because I looked the other day at my records, and Calvin, I'm pleased to report that the Unified League in Cape Town started in 1992 and continued until 2019, 27 years, and I've played in every league.
Wow.
Every league since 1992 I've played, and I think that foundation that you have, once you've played schools chess, club chess, you then continue to play in tournaments as an individual, but you must always be a member of a club. And once you've got that, those structures must come. I was also, I'm proud to say, I was a captain of Western Province for about 15 years. And in that 15 years, we won the Western Province, the National Inter-Union Championship about 11 times under my captaincy. And that structure was also important, because it gave me an opportunity to play alongside Grandmaster Kenny Solomon, Watu Kobese, Maxwell Solomon, Calvin Klaasen, Donovan van den Heever, all of these Olympic players I was able to play and captain with. So for me, the structure in South African chess should be around schools chess, should be around club chess, and then should be about the big tournaments like the SA Open and the SA Close. But there should certainly also be round robin tournaments where you can play against people that are your level and standard. And for me, tournaments like the Western Province Closed, the SA Closed, I was in the last 30 years, Calvin, I've played 10 SA Closed championships. So
Nice.
for me, those were important, because you are able then to gauge your strength against some of the new up and coming and some of the established champions that you have out there.
Fantastic stuff, Lennon. And that's an amazing stat, by the way. When I came to Cape Town, the Western Province League is definitely something to behold. It's definitely the one of the things you have to participate in if you stay in Cape Town. It's one of the biggest leagues on the continent, and yeah, having you say you played in all of them. Wow, that's since 1992.
Yeah, since 1992, when the two chess bodies got together, when Bertie van Wyk initiated unity talks in Cape Town in 1991, and then 1992, we played the first league. We still played home. We played home and away, where we invited clubs to your home. And I was playing for Bellville South at the time. We played from Bellville South Library. And I recall driving to Fish Hoek, where we played at the tennis court in Fish Hoek against players like Dieter Marshall and Nick Barnett and others. And then we traveled to Goodwood and other places. And then later on, in about the year 2000, we started to have one league where we played. And in the year 1996, I played three league matches before I left to go to the Karpo School of Chess in Sweden. And in 1997, I played only one league match because I was living in Port Elizabeth at the time. And then in 1998, when I returned to Cape Town, I played 6 matches for Steinitz. And out of the 6, I scored 5.5 out of 6 on board 1. And that led Steinitz to its second league victory after 1993. And thereafter, I was privileged to play for Steinitz all these years since 1996. And in that time with Steinitz, I won 10 league titles with Steinitz on a Western Province level. And then after that, I was able to lead Steinitz to 9 club titles SA club titles as well. So for me, those things are important in terms of the structure and and the statistics of playing every year in the league. The league is about 11 matches, and I play on average about 9 out of those 11. Some I would play the full 11, but obviously work and other opportunities may also prevent me from playing all the matches.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's amazing, London. And yeah, I think they say that you accumulate the points there in the league. Um,
Yes, no, Calvin, I've been very fortunate that I've normally played between board 1 and board 3 in the league, and I always pride myself that I'm not going to lose. I'm going to be very, very difficult to beat. You've got to take out all your strengths to beat me, and because I enjoy playing for my club Steinitz, and I take the league very seriously. 1 year in 2018, we were trying to win the league back, and I actually left George after a function. I left George at 3 o'clock in the morning to be at the board at 9 o'clock to play against Charles de Villiers. And I was able to hold my own against Charles in that match. But no, I've been fortunate to accumulate titles and points in Cape Town in South African chess.
Great stuff, guys. I've also had the privilege to play for Steinitz and play alongside London, and they do call him the accumulator, by the way. So yeah. And from King Ulster says, excellent point, London. The continuity from school, club, league, very fundamental. Thanks, King Ulster. And yeah, let's just do a few more questions, and then we're gonna take care of the last questions in the chat box. So yeah. So my next question to you, London, is so this is your first book on chess, right? So how much effort goes into writing such a book?
Calvin, I've learned now, for me this year, it took me the whole year to write this book. And you've got to be very critical about your writing, because you will write the first draft, and after you write it, you then decide it didn't quite capture what you wanted to say. And even after I wrote the book, I gave it to a few family members first to review. My brother-in-law, Tertius Frick, he reviewed it. He found some things that he picked up there. And thereafter, my wife, Dr. Denise Bouah, who's got a very pedantic eye, she even found one or two things that she debated with me. And Professor Bertie van Wyk from Stellenbosch University, one of my mentors, he also had a look at the book. So I had 3 different people look at the book, because the reviews are very important. How you structure things, is the spacing right, etc. But for me, Calvin, this book took me, I would say, about 10 months to write, from conception to where we are today on the 1st of December, where we're actually launching the book. Because at the end of the day, the product that goes out there must be a reflection of me. I want people to know that when they read the book, they must be comfortable to know that the information is correct. It's been checked. The positions are there, the games are there, and we've been able to do that. So for me, I would think that on average, it's probably about 10 months to write a book from start to finish.
Wow, lot of effort, lot of energy going into it. Must be good. Must be a good read then.
It will be.
So yeah, I've got a couple more last questions, because we still need to get to the chat box. So yeah, with all the time and effort in there, maybe one last question about the actual games. Can you maybe identify, if you can, what you would maybe say as the most epic or crazy or interesting game that you can maybe recall from the book?
Calvin, it's a difficult one, because there was, of course, a lot of crazy games that is played at the lower levels. You know, at the top levels, the guys would be playing their normal chess, their Sicilians, their Royal Pairs, their Dragons, and so forth. So at the top level, you won't easily find wild games. But I think if you, the one game from the SA Club Championship, which was the one of Holmes, who was white, versus Makupane. I think that for me was probably the craziest game, because unexpected tactics that I didn't see until I obviously played through the game. That was very exciting. And then the other one that I would nominate for crazy type chess would be the game Matpon versus Muhammad Bawadin. So those two games, I think, in terms of just wild, exciting things, those are the games that you'd also want to have a look at as well.
Okay, fantastic. Looking forward to it. And yeah, so one of my last questions to you is okay, just going through all of that, do you have any other interesting facts that you can give us about this book? Anything interesting? You've mentioned you have quite a lot of statistics in the book, but anything
Yeah.
else interesting?
Yes, Calvin, for the non-chess player, of course, there would be a lot to read about the non-chess items. About, for instance, the article about Lenin. Vladimir Lenin was one of the revolutionaries that took over Russia in 1917 after the Russian Revolution. And I didn't know that he was such an avid chess player and chess lover. So I've written an article about him. Then Paul Morphy. There's an article that I wrote about Paul Morphy, and I also analyzed some of his well-known games. But then the article that I think I enjoyed the most in a rewriting, in fact, was the lecture given by Grandmaster Levon Aronian. Aronian visited Stellenbosch on the 8th of January in 2020. Was hosted by Advocate Freek Geyser and Cape Winelands Chess, and I went along to listen, and I took my notebook with me and I scribbled furiously. And as Grandmaster Aronian, world number 6, was talking, and at the end of the day, within this book, which has 228 pages, 7 pages is dedicated to the lecture of Grandmaster Levon Aronian, which has a lot of gems in that lecture.
Nice.
Because once you listen to a super grandmaster like Aronian, then of course you begin to appreciate what he said about exchange sacrifices, what he said about studying the classics, all of those things that you only read about. Here you had a grandmaster Aronian talking to us about that in there. So there you have that as well. And then within the book, you will also find, for instance, who won the SA Close in a particular year, who's the SA over 65 champion in 2019, who's the SA over 50 champion. Now these are things that people don't often talk about, but you will find that analysis and those statistics you'll find in the book as well, Calvin.
Okay, great stuff. So a bit of everything in there for us. Okay, so yeah, so I think we can switch over now to a couple more questions in the chat box, guys. Just apologies if I do miss your question or anything like that. We did have a cut earlier on in the show, so just patience, please, guys. I'll try to get everybody's question in. So yeah, from Monster Frick. Monster Frick says, Dr. Bouah, I've noticed on the cover of the book that it says Volume 1. Very interesting. What can you tell us what we could expect to find valuable in Volume 1 for chess players and coaches? And what are you currently holding secret from future volumes of Reflections on Chess in the Rainbow Nation? You may whisper some teasers to look forward to. With a bit of a laugh, a giggle.
No, thanks for that question, Calvin and Mossen de Frick. No, from my side, there's a lot of hidden gems played by some of our young talents that have come through. But I also appreciated the technique from some of our senior club players as well that comes through. You'll find, for instance, some interesting tactics that was played by Advocate Maxwell Solomon. I enjoyed these. FIDE Master Shabir Baudin in the book gave a lot of lessons to some of the youngsters, because Dr. Baudin plays in nearly every tournament. Now, when you start to analyze the players, then you'll see that they have the fortitude, they've got tenacity, and they keep fighting. And those are some of the things that I've learned just from going through the games as well. And there's another game that a lot of players may not go through because it's a long game, but it was played by Paul Gluckman against Paul Gluckman versus Watu Kobese. I thought when I watched the game, Paul Gluckman at the age of 17, completely dead in the game. And then all of a sudden he created something, a fortress. He conceptualized that at the board, going 2 pawns down, but creating a fortress. Now, for me, that was It was great chess because it meant that he had seen something that we had not seen. So there are concepts that I believe there are aesthetics that you look for. I was looking at things like paradox. I was looking things at geometry. There's one game that Keith Kumalo plays against Matpon where there are 6 pieces on the D file. You know, there's a queen on D1, a rook on D2, a knight on D4, a knight on D5, and all of a sudden you have this crazy position that you have now. That's geometry that
Yes.
David Fried could talk about. So for me, those are the things that you'll find in the book when you look at those ones. And then, of course, in future volumes, I hope to highlight. I'm busy working on volume 2 now, which will be the 2019, where I look at the African Individual Championships, look at the Western Province League, and some of the other tournaments that took place as well, where we can learn from some of the different players and how they played, even the 2018 zonals in Mozambique or the 2017 zonals that Kenny Solomon won in Zambia. Now, all of those games would be great because I'm hoping to have some of the African players games feature very strongly. So those are some of the things, Calvin, that I looked at.
Fantastic stuff, Lyndon. Next question from Grandmaster Neil McDonald. He says, do you have an all-time favorite game by a South African player?
I think it's there would be so many different games, but the one that I often play over because I watched it was a game that played at the 2018 Olympiad in Georgia. Grandmaster Shengelia versus Daniel Cordery. Cordery was black, and Cordery sacrifices a bishop in the game on d7, and then follows up with a mating attack on the queen side. Now, playing that at Olympiad level against the Grandmaster from Austria, it meant that South Africa beat Austria in that competition with a fantastic score of 3-1. Kenny Solomon drawing against a 2700 Marcus Ragger as well, GM. And that game for me, having seen it, having played through it on more than one occasion, was really a fantastic game. But you know, Calvin, there are so many great games. If you think about, I watched the game that Henry Mohammed Steele played against Gatas Kamsky at the 2014 Olympiad in Norway. Fantastic game. Henry defending and then coming back. If you look at the game that Henry Steele beat Luke McShane, also a fantastic game in the 2012 Olympiad in Turkey. And then, of course, the games of Kenny Solomon. I remember Kenny's 2014 game against Grandmaster Adley from Namibia. So there are so many of these great games out there that it's difficult for me just to choose one. Yeah. But at this stage, I think if players out there want to have a look at, please look at Shengelia, Grandmaster Shengelia versus Cordery at Olympiad level. That for me would have been one of South Africa's greatest games.
Great stuff, great stuff. Many, many games, yes, like you said. So next question from King Ulster. Question for Lyndon. Did you strive for depth or breadth in the chess study for that fundamental platform? And which would you now recommend for newer players?
I think for me, you've got to have understanding of the game. So I think you've got to understand the positions. You know, you'll find that many of the younger players may get a better position out of the opening against older club players, because the older club players may be working. He or she may not have time to study their openings. But once that opening phase is over, then chess understanding comes to the fore. And then you have to understand what you need to do, where you need to place your rooks, which one goes to D1, which one goes to C1, where do you place your bishops on the fianchetto or to G5 or B5. Now that understanding needs to come in there. So for me, the depth is important, and that's what I try to look at in terms of this book. I try to look at the concepts that the players try to illustrate within their game. So that's what I looked at, Calvin. So I think depth is important.
Fantastic stuff. So yeah, I think I missed one question here at the top. Let me just check where I am now. It was from Bertie. Yeah, Bertie said quite a while ago. Bertie said, Lyndon, your impressions going forward. So I'm not sure from what standpoint Bertie is referring to, but your impressions going forward, Lyndon.
Calvin, at the moment I'm working on 2 or 3 chess books that I think one of the chess books that I'm working on is the history of my own chess career, 1987 to 2019, in terms of just the career span of 33 years. And because I was very fortunate, Calvin, in that I played at school level, I was a schoolboy champion. And immediately when Unity arose in 1992, I was one of the first South Africans to play internationally in the Philippines. And I played in the Olympiad on board 4 for South Africa in 1992. And in 1993, I came second in the African Junior Championships. And in 94, I qualified for the team again to go to the Moscow Olympiad. So in many of the things, I've been very privileged and honored to have been part of a history of South African chess, and thereafter being part of all of these activities where I was able to talk about. And what I am going to try to do in my book on the history of my games is also to illustrate the history of South African chess, because I've played, as I said, in 10 SA Close. I've also played in as many SA Open. And then, of course, you have the SA Club Championships. You've got the inter-unions that took place through the years. And it's important for us to record that heritage, because if players don't know where the inter-union started or where the SA clubs started, they will lose out on that understanding and the players that went before them. So for me, those are the things that I'm looking at, Bertie, going forward. And then, of course, I want to continue to write about the reflections, because we don't have in South Africa a place where you can go to one source to find out who won a particular year of event. If I ask somebody who won the 2012 Western Province Open, they won't know unless you were the player that won the event, or you have the trophy at your house. So these are the things that you need a book that you are able to go to, because even though the internet has all of this knowledge, if you don't consolidate that knowledge into one space, then the knowledge will always just be out there, but we won't know those things. So for me, it's important to talk about, people don't know that Kenny Solomon, when he won the Pretoria tournament, the Capablanca Open in 2014, that was the first tournament a South African won ahead of 4 grandmasters. Nobody talks about that, but it was a superlative performance.
Yes.
South African, Kenny winning and then ending second at the Steinitz Open also in 2014, playing against the grandmasters again. So these are the type of things that we must talk about. The fact that in 2014, Denise Frick at the time and Donovan van den Heever both won the zonals in 2014 in Namibia, and then that was followed in 2016 by Jesse February and Ryan van Rensburg winning in Mauritius. And then, of course, the next year we had Kenny Solomon doing that in Zambia, together with one of the young ladies from Pretoria. So now these are the things that we must talk about, Calvin. And I believe that by writing reflections going forward, that as I'm writing the reflections, history will be told and our heritage will be protected.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Lennon. So now we've got a question here from Skanda, of course. Skanda has a question here for you. Who is your favorite Indian player, male and female, Lennon?
So, Calvin, my favorite Indian female player would be Hampi Kuneru. Humble player, very, very strong. And I had the privilege of studying her games a few years ago. And then my favorite Indian player is a gentleman by the name of Sultan Khan. Now, Sultan Khan is from the 1930s. And today he would probably be known as coming from Pakistan. But at that time, he was known from India. And he traveled to Britain. And he won 3 British championships.
Wow.
Unknown to everybody. He came and he won, and Grandmaster Daniel King has released a book about him earlier this year, which I'm hoping to still buy. But Sultan Khan was and is my favorite Indian player because of what he accomplished. And FIDE has not awarded him the Grandmaster title. I think that he deserves a Grandmaster title even after his death. So that for me is my favorite Indian male and female player.
I think that's the most interesting answer we've gotten thus far on the reflections, because Skanda always asks everybody, and I think Fishy and Nant was maybe 95% of the time the answer. But great answer there, Lyndon. And And then from Burton van Staden, Burton, of course, the president of Chess Western Province. Burton says, congratulations, Dr. Bouah, on the release of your book. Chess Western Province are very fortunate to have had you being part of its structures over the years. And the strength of Cape Town chess is very much also as a result of the pivotal role that you have played. Thanks, Burton, for your comments. Sean Willenberg is also in the chat. Welcome, Sean. Sean says, well done, Dr. Bouah. What a lovely way to celebrate SA Chess. SA Chess fraternity is immensely proud of you. Thanks, Sean. Duke Simons. Duke says, evening, everyone. Congrats on your book, Lyndon. Looking forward to reading it. Exclamation. Thanks, Duke. All right. And Mikael.
Thanks, Duke.
Mikael Tal 1964 says, on behalf of Steiner's Chess Club, congratulations to Dr. Bouah on the book launch. So I'm not sure who's Tal there from Steiner's, but congrats. Yep. And we have no doubt that this is a masterpiece, and we wish you every success. We are proud to have you as part of the Steiner's family, and indeed South Africa is blessed to have somebody of your caliber. All right, King Ulster says, congratulations, Lyndon, on the launch. Wonderful initiative and focus on SA Chess with your invaluable personal insight. Eagerly awaiting volume 12. Maybe it's probably a typo, probably 2. Okay, and then Monster Frick says, good question. I missed one here from Francois and Tertius. Yeah, this one. Lyndon, what is the thing about announcing checkmate?
Yeah, Calvin, in the old days, they used to play chess in coffee houses, and the guy that used to be sort of like the best player around, if he sees a forced mate, then he would then call the spectators and he would loudly proclaim, I announce mate in 8 or mate in 6 or whatever it may have been, and then the spectators would then crowd around that to see that. Now, of course, nowadays it's not really done, but when I was growing up and we were playing blitz in Port Elizabeth or here in Cape Town when I was a young man at student level, we used to also enjoy that kibitzing where we would be able to say, come, I've got a mate in 2, and then you announce mate in 2, and then you look good as well. So it's not done normally, but I have on occasion been known to announce mate as well, and especially sometimes when the player doesn't want to resign a piece or 2 pieces down, then you have to announce mate so that he can know it's now time to for Kasparov to put his watch back on and all of these types of things.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Lyndon. And Monster Frick actually commented on that. I think he said, good question, Francois. It's a fact that Dr. Bouah can calculate quite a number of chess moves accurately ahead. And if he calculates that there is no way to escape his checkmate in 10 moves, then it would be 10 moves. LOL. I would also like to know why he announces it. Okay, so he just answered that one. That would give me instant fear for the accumulator and I'll start running. Okay, thanks, Monster Frick. Okay, and ML is asked a question here that we I think addressed earlier on. He said not sure if this question was addressed. Is there a future ebook version? I think you said no, right, Lyndon?
I think at this stage we'll probably only have a future ebook in about a year or 2. But Calvin, my view is still that in Africa we need to have books. People must have the ability to read. People must have the ability to feel the fresh pages when you get a new book. And then you must have the ability just to enjoy the games. I sometimes feel that if you just zoom through a game on your computer, you're not really appreciating the game. But when you sit with your wooden pieces and you play through the game slowly, and I want to recommend to ML that buy a bottle of wine and play through the book as he's going through slowly, just to get that appreciation of the moves. And I actually dare think there may even be 1 or 2 games of ML in the tournament, in the book.
Yes. And now question from ML. It is also ML. Yeah. ML continues here with another question. Thanks, ML, again for the questions. He says, when will this book be on sale and where will we be able to purchase it?
So the book will be available from Saturday onwards, Calvin, and you just contact me, and if you live in Cape Town, we will arrange a drop-off, a place for a mutual place that's convenient, and but it will be available from Saturday, and also I will start posting it away from Saturday onwards to people outside of Cape Town, because I've received quite a number of orders for it from around the country.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lennon. And then another comment here from Neil McDonald. He says, I just played through Shangelia Cordry Olympiad 2016. It's an excellent game. So we saw someone going through one of the SA games immediately. Thanks, Lyndon. Thanks, Neil,
Super,
as well.
super.
And Llewellyn J says, huge congrats to Dr. Bouah. This is an important contribution to the chess archive, indeed to the general archive. The recenter marginal voices and highlight local chess history. No, he said you recenter marginal voices and highlight local chess history in an important fashion. Thanks, Llewellyn J. And Skanda says here,
Thank you.
Skanda says, I am glad that that only you did not say that fishy and nunt. So Skanda is very happy you didn't say fishy and nunt earlier, Lyndon. Yes. King Oster says, this coffee house historical story is priceless. Thanks a stack, Lyndon. So yeah, I think that's about it from the comments. And Dr. Queenie has also left the email address there of Lyndon, where you can order the books directly. Thanks, Dr. Queenie. So guys, just take that email address and you can order directly the book from Lyndon. So yeah, so that's all the questions from the chat box. So yeah, any final comments or what else? Or maybe one last question that I can ask you, Lyndon, is
yeah.
What would you like the viewers to take from the book? Whether you're a chess player or starting chess player or experienced chess player, what would you like the viewers to take from this book?
Calvin, I think for me, I always believe that chess has given me pleasure. Whether I sit at night here and play through a few of my favorite games, I actually, this year, for the last 5 months, I studied Peter Lecko's 100 best games. And I was able to play through Peter Lecko, who was a world champion candidate for a long time. And about a week ago, I started with Kasparov, my predecessors, and I started to go through that again because I believe that I've got a new insight into how Kasparov has written and how he's analyzed, and I would like to understand that now. So for me, the first thing is the book must bring you enjoyment. If you're a chess player and you love chess, then that is what the book must bring. It must bring creativity to you because you must be able to see what the typical South African chess player out there, what he or she has seen and played those great moves. Because at the end of the day, that's what chess is all about. You want to get to the checkmate, you want to play with passion, but you also want to enjoy the game. You don't only want to, is it another Caro-Kann, is it another French or whatever? No, you actually want to see what the technique was of the player, what was the passion, what did he or she conceptualize on the board. All of those things are coming through the book. So for me, I wanted the player out there, before you even learn something, you must just enjoy the book. That is the first thing, and that would bring pleasure to my heart. And I say in the foreword, Calvin, that chess has brought me hours of endless pleasure. It has also created a world out there for me because I've been privileged to travel to 36 countries because of chess. And I've made lifelong friends across the globe. And I've also found a wife. And Calvin, that for me, chess has brought all of those things to me. And Calvin, I want to also just say that tonight I'm dedicating the first book to my wife, Denise, because she inspired me when she wrote her book and launched her book on the 1st of September. And with that drive, I'm dedicating this first book to her that I will give to her tonight, and you'll see the photographs later. But I think, Calvin, for me, that the passion and just the enjoyment that you must get from the book, that would be, for me, the greatest gift you can give.
Fantastic, Lennon. Great stuff.
Thanks,
so
Calvin.
yeah, I think yeah, we're all gonna take a little something from the book. I'm looking forward to buying my copy. And yeah, let me just read the last few comments, and then I think we can say our goodbyes. Um, so
Sure.
yeah, Skanda also asked how can he get a book? He's from India, so I would recommend that you email Lyndon, and then you guys can
Yep.
discuss. So just email Lyndon on his
Yep.
email, lyndon.bouah@gmail.com. It's in the chat box, and then you guys can discuss. Um, and then Jada007 says, congratulations, Dr. Bouah, on your stunning chess book. I have always been inspired by your deep reflections and imaginative mind. Could you please tell us what your vision is for chess in South Africa? From Quentin Johnson. Thanks, Quentin.
So I think for me, it would be that we need to restore South African chess to be one of the top 3 countries in Africa. Egypt at the moment has probably got about 10 grandmasters already that they can easily field in any tournament out there. And South Africa is still only has the one grandmaster, GM Kenny Solomon. So for me, I'd like us to be able to be competitive on the African continent, and that we must be able to compete at the Olympiad level in both the open section and in the women's section as well. So I think that for me, restoring our competitive edge would be an important part. And I just want to tell the viewers out there that in 1992, 1994, 1996, when I played at the Olympiads on 2 occasions, South Africa was a top African country. And we would always be in the top 2 or top 3. But after that, we have gone, we've had a backslide where Morocco, Algeria, Zambia, Angola, all of these countries have come up and sometimes have just moved past us. So for me, I'd like to see active chess leagues in every major town and city in South Africa, inter-union that is geographically based, where players that are living in a particular area can play against one another, big tournaments that are accessible to the masses of South Africans out there. And yeah, I think about Brian van Zyl's tournament at the Commonwealth in 2013. That was a fantastic tournament. 800 players came from all over to participate. The SA Opens that used to be here in Cape Town, 500 players. So all of those type of things where access and any player, any person in South Africa must have the ability to learn and to walk down to a chess club in their particular neighborhood. That for me would be part of my vision for chess in South Africa, to have more grandmasters, but also more importantly, to bring chess to the mass population out there in South Africa. Thanks, Professor Johnson, for the question.
Great stuff. Thanks, Lennon, for yeah, just sharing all of this with us, and for giving us this chess book. Yeah, I think South Africa is on the right track here, and you're putting us, you're starting it for us. So thanks for this book. I'm looking forward to it, guys. Email London or contact him for the book. It will be available from this Saturday. So yeah, we're looking forward to more volumes in the future as well. But let's first get the first one. I can't wait to use it for my coaching as well, and just for entertainment purposes as well. So thanks everybody for following Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the questions. Thanks Dr. Queenie for also answering some of the questions over there. And of course, Skanda is asking in the chat box here, and I just urge everybody, okay, this is the last episode of Reflections, but please, when we do reflections, guys, let's focus on the theme of the evening. So Skanda is asking about the other shows for the week. We did miss last week. So the next show will be this coming Thursday. We've got a very, very interesting and spectacular rapid invitational coming up, guys, starting this Thursday to Sunday. Every day, every evening, we will have some matches going on. So the usual program will not be for this coming week. We will have our rapid invitational. Let's just show the confirmed players. We are still waiting, or we're still going to confirm our 5th player. But for now, this is what it looks like, guys. And there we have our rapid invitational players lined up for Thursday. And like I said, we might have a player number 5 coming up as well. It's a I am Mohammed Henry Steele. We've got I am Watuko Bese. We've got I am Johannes Mabusela. And we've got yours truly, Fire Master Calvin Klaasen. And yeah, so, and in fact, hopefully, I don't know what Dr. Bouah's schedule looks like. We might have to ask London if he can share some of his commentary knowledge or expertise, some of these matches. So that's what's happening, guys. This coming Thursday, we will advertise the times. I think Thursday at 5, but I'll just advertise that as well. So yeah, thanks, Lennon, so much for this. And guys, get your copy of let's just show the book cover again for everybody to see.
Yep.
Here we go. Get your copy of Reflections on Chess in the Rainbow Nation 2020, Volume 1 by Dr. Lyndon Bouah. There you have it, guys. And from my side, Lyndon, I just want to thank you for this year's reflections. It's been amazing with all the guests and with you organizing everything and being the host. I think the channel has been blessed with all these spectacular episodes. And what can we expect in the future? Are we going to see Reflections next year?
Yes, Calvin, I'm busy chatting with some of the people for next year. We're looking at mid January. We'll just confirm that with the viewers in a week or two. But at this stage, we're looking at sort of season 2 to run from January through to March. And then we'll take a break and come back again towards the end of the year where we have more of the people. And I've also got a few of our colleagues, chess players in Zambia, in Egypt, Nigeria, and other places that have also agreed to participate. So for me, it's going to be exciting to have guests from all over Africa that we will be profiling from South Africa and obviously the rest of the continent as well. So Calvin, I'm looking forward to that, and thank you to you and to all the viewers for the active viewership that they had tonight with all the questions and the comments. I really appreciate it, and I will stay in touch. Thank you, Calvin.
All right, thanks, Lyndon. Thanks to all the viewers out there. And yes, we'll see you next year with Reflections. Enjoy, guys. Have a good one. Thanks, Lyndon. Thanks, everybody.
Calvin.
Cheers.
Bye.